Her every move was carefully monitored by Queen Victoria. Every step required approval. Even the choice of a name for her own child was not given to her. The wedding with the heir to the English throne opened her eyes to what it means to live under constant supervision. Marlborough House, the dwelling given to Prince Bertie and his charming wife, did not provide independence. Alexandra was surrounded by the ladies appointed by the Queen, and the rules of life were dictated by English etiquette. The young princess enjoyed dancing and riding, but had to limit her movements. "It's like I'm made of glass," Alexandra wrote. "They constantly remind me that fast movements can interfere with carrying a child, but I feel absolutely healthy." The Queen sought to be aware of everything that was happening in the house of her son and daughter-in-law. Court ladies were recommended to eavesdrop and peep, but Alexandra maintained an ideal reputation. She quickly mastered the requirements of behavior, avoiding the irritation of her mother-in-law, and successfully fulfilled her main task, the continuation of the royal dynasty. And it was not without Victoria's intervention. She not only provided instructions on feeding, bathing, and raising children, but even the name of Alexandra's firstborn became the last to know. Albert Victor Christian Edward was born in 1864. The first name, in honor of the Queen's beloved husband, Albert Victor, came from the name of Victoria, and the third name, not the main thing, became a diplomatic donation towards Denmark. It was the name of Alexandra's father. Victoria demanded that she be present at the time of the birth of the child. However, Alexandra resorted to tricks. She repeatedly changed the information in front of the ladies watching her, so it seemed that after the birth of Albert Victor, the children seemed to be in a hurry to see the new world ahead of time, and all this happened without the presence of the Queen, a small but extremely important trick for Alexandra. The princess easily coped with the role of a mother. She was very happy to take care of her children, ready to personally swaddle and bathe them, but she wasn't always allowed to do that. Victoria was shocked to learn that the wife of the crown prince, like a simple woman, puts on an apron, rolls sleeves, and washes babies. A sense of humor became a mainstay for Alexandra. She masterfully used subtle jokes, but was absolutely serious when it came to the borders of Denmark. Disputes between European dynasties affected the Schleswig-Holstein lands, which were eventually separated from Denmark. When Bertie's younger sister was marrying a German prince, declared Duke of Schleswig-Holstein, Alexandra strongly objected. "There are no dukes of Schleswig-Holstein. These lands belong to my father." Royal duties brought Alexandra joy. Together with her husband, she traveled to Scandinavia, Ireland, and France, meeting Napoleon III and his Empress Eugenie in Paris. Despite a slight limp that arose after the birth of her third child, Alexandra of Denmark had attractiveness and the ability to conquer others. Together with Bertie, they often went on trips, visiting Copenhagen, Berlin, Vienna, where they found moments of respite and freedom. There she again practiced dancing, horseback riding, and enjoyed opera performances. Their excursion to Egypt brought incredible impressions. A trip along the Nile, a visit to the Karnak Temple, as well as a trip to Istanbul, where they were received by Padishah Abdul Aziz. It was a unique moment when a woman, and even another faith, was allowed to sit next to the ruler of the Ottoman Empire. After this trip, Alexandra took with her valuable gifts, jewelry worth £80,000, presented by the admiring Padishah. Upon returning to the UK, Alexandra began taking piano lessons. Although she had already done this before, now she decided to improve her skills. She also often engaged in drawing in albums and subsequently became interested in photography, a very modern hobby for the end of the XIX century. By the way, the princess personally photographed her children, and many of her works were presented at the exhibition in 1897, which did not cause objections from Queen Victoria. Over time, the Queen's control over her daughter-in-law became less. However, in 1871, a conflict arose between them, which almost led to a break in relations. The last child of the princess and Bertie, Alexander John, died the day after birth. Alexandra wanted this not to be officially announced, but the Queen insisted on observing all the formalities. After all, it was the prince. Over time, the relationship with her husband has improved. Alexandra was aware of his infidelity, but kept herself in check, realizing that it was better not to pay attention to it. They maintained exemplary behavior in front of society. In 1881, together they attended the funeral of Emperor Alexander II and the coronation of Alexander III and his wife Maria Feodorovna, sister of Alexandra of Denmark. Life under constant supervision has become less caring. The queen began to appreciate her daughter-in-law, who was entrusted with more and more responsibilities because Victoria was getting old. The princess has earned her trust. In 1892, Alexandra of Denmark needed all her patience to cope with the disaster. She lost her eldest son. Now George Frederick Ernest Albert, the son of Bertie and Alexandra, became the heir to the throne. On January 22, 1901, Queen Victoria died. Alexandra stayed by her side until the last moment, holding her hand. She came out of the chambers of the departed queen already as a queen.